It's good. So if you want to talk, either just give me a wave or I'll just keep looking around. And then I'll go mute and you come unmuted. Okay. All right, Mr. Mackey, whenever you're ready.
Okay, you're on.
Okay, good evening and welcome. This is the January 19th regularly scheduled East Long Meadow Public School School Committee meeting. I will call the meeting to order. It is 6 o'clock. This meeting is being held remotely in accordance with the Governor of Massachusetts March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. As you can see, several of us are in the same room. Go ahead, Don.
No, I don't have. So I'm using my laptop in the other room and I don't have my access to the Town of East Long Meadow Facebook page. You can start, Greg.
Okay, we are back from our recess. Thank you all for everyone's patience. Unfortunately, this evening, we're not going to be able to live stream via Facebook. We currently have the planning board who is now live streaming through Facebook, and we can only, as a town, have one stream. So apologize for all those who were trying to log in tonight. If anybody out there wants to let any of their friends or neighbors know that they have to come through the Zoom meeting to see us tonight, that would be appreciated. Okay, with that, we're going to move forward. We do not have any minutes to approve this evening, so we'll keep going. And we will go forward with our chance for visitors to address the committee. Mr. Mackey, if you could bring Cindy Knowles in, please.
Yep.
Thanks, sir.
Hi.
Hi there. Hi, Knowles family.
Hi. I just wanted
Cindy.
to, how are you guys?
Doing well. How you doing?
We're good. I just wanted to hop on quickly to say thank you guys again for giving us the choice to go back to school. My kids are cohort A, so they went back today, and I can't tell you the smile that was on this girl's face when I picked her up at 2:30. So thank you so much. We're very grateful. Also wanted to share that the amount of communications that we're getting from you guys between Superintendent Smith and the various principals and teachers is phenomenal. So we greatly appreciate all the information, letting us know what's going on. So just wanted to share that as well. And I know that Maya just wants to make a really quick statement to you guys, if that's okay.
That's good. Go ahead, Maya.
Go ahead, Maya.
Like my mom said, today was my first day back, and I was very happy to see all my friends and teachers. I felt like I could understand better, and I think it was a good choice to go back. Any questions for me?
Did you get to see some of your friends today, Maya?
Yes.
Awesome. And how about your teachers? Probably good to see them after a long time out, huh?
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you so very much for chiming in tonight, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Okay. Bye, Knowles family.
Bye.
All right. Mr. Mackey, if you can bring Andrew Goldman, please.
Sorry, I just want to make sure you could hear me, Greg. Can you hear me?
Hey, Bruce. Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah. How you doing tonight?
Good, Greg. How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Good. So, first of all, I just want to thank you all for taking the time for letting me speak tonight. As you know, Greg, I'm a teacher at Maple Shade, and I also have two daughters, one at Birchland, the other at Maple Shade. So, besides a teacher, I'm a parent, member of the community. My daughters have thrived this year throughout the remote setting, and that's because of all the great things the teachers have done. I can't say enough about the staff at Birchland, Maple Shade. And I know the same goes for all the other three schools. So just wanted to say that first. I also wanted to just take the time to publicly acknowledge the staff and support staff who have been in the building since day one, supporting our higher needs students. I think their work should not go unnoticed. And I just wanted to take this moment to publicly mention my principal, Michael Fredette. In severe trying times, he's been extremely supportive to both families and staff. And I just thought that was worth mentioning. So I'm not going to get into a remote versus hybrid debate. That's not why I'm here. That's not what this is about. And we all want the kids to be back in school just like that, that Bill just said. My concern lies with the fact that we're not looking at the data and health metrics to guide our decisions going forward. Not going backward, just going forward. Like, what do we do going forward? So I know this is definitely not a question and answer session, but I'm just hoping you'll consider and think about some of the points I'm talking about tonight. I know that you consult local health officials on a regular basis, and I see they're not on the agenda tonight, but perhaps a discussion with them going forward could happen in the coming weeks and be addressed at the next meeting when they are on the agenda. As you know, Massachusetts is now in the level of severe outbreak category for the first time in this pandemic. That's higher than we were last spring when we were in crisis mode. We also now have our first reported case of the variant, which has been reported to be even more highly transmissible than the strain we've been dealing with since March. So no doubt we're going to start seeing more cases of that spread across the state as well. Last week alone, Massachusetts had 503 students and 427 staff test positive for COVID. That is with a significant number of districts in a remote setting, either due to their local data or as a precaution for the 2 weeks after the holiday break. Last week, the data provided by the East Longmeadow Health Department, the average daily incidence rate was a 73.1 trend higher than the week before. The positivity percentage was a 7.6% trend higher than the week before. This is while schools in Longmeadow were still remote. Our town's in the red. We've been in the red consistently, and our surrounding towns are in the red. In Massachusetts, in the last 2 weeks, the age group with the highest number of positive cases has been the ages of 0 to 19. Currently, there are districts that have metrics in place regarding a pivot to remote or a pivot to hybrid. It goes both ways, right? Remote to hybrid, hybrid to remote. So West Springfield has to have lower than a 5% positivity in the town for 2 consecutive weeks before they go hybrid. In Munson, they need more than 43 cases for 2 consecutive weeks in the community, and they pivot to remote. If they have less than 43 for 3 consecutive weeks, they pivot back to hybrid. In Agawam, if the average positivity rate is above 3% in the town or above 5% combined in the surrounding towns of Westfield, Southwick, West Springfield, Springfield, and Longmeadow, they pivot to remote. They also pivot if their town is in the red for 2 consecutive weeks or if they run out of PPE. In Belchertown, if the town is red and or the average positivity rate is at 5% or higher in town for over a 14-day period, they pivot. Right now, there are no metrics in place for East Longmeadow, and our numbers continue to trend in the wrong direction. At the elementary level, students are eating unmasked in classrooms with adult supervision. And this is by no means to the fault of any staff or admin at any schools. This is not any fault, but it's rather a situation just facing. There simply is not anywhere else. So those classrooms can have spacing for up to 12 kids at a time, and that's 12 kids eating lunch without a mask on for 12 minutes. My concern lies with the students and staff in those rooms when kids are unmasked during lunch and then remain in that room for the rest of the day. Being unmasked ties back to my main point of looking at the metrics for everyone's safety, especially if our positivity rates continue to rise the way they are. The outgoing CDC director came out this week and said, we are about to be in the worst of it, and that January and February were going to be the roughest time this nation's ever experienced from a public health point of view in our country's history. So although my main goal here tonight is to discuss safety metrics, I want to point out one impressive data regarding the ELPS staff, which hopefully will make people feel more confident should we have to pivot back to remote for a short period of time. I'm not saying a long time, I'm saying just even if we had to pivot shortly. According to DESE, a fully remote program requires students to receive 40 hours of synchronous instruction over a 2-week period. A hybrid program, again, according to DESE, requires 35 hours of synchronous instruction over a 2-week period. Gordon stated at the school committee meeting on December 15th that East Longmeadow was averaging 51 hours of synchronous instruction in our remote model over a 2-week period. So that is a huge shout out to the amazing teachers and paraprofessionals and staff in the district who have done fantastic work in our remote model and went above and beyond DESE's guidelines. And I'm only pointing that out, Greg, that if we have to pivot, it's not the end of the world. You know, if we have to pivot due to data, it's not the end of the world because we have the data to show that we can do what we can do to back it up. So I'm just hoping that discussions will occur with our local health officials about metrics being in place for our town regarding a pivot in either direction, whether it's going from hybrid to remote or remote to hybrid. That's all I'm asking. I'm hoping we can think more of a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach. I thank you for letting me speak tonight, and I appreciate your time.
Okay, Bruce. Thank you for your time as well. Appreciate your words tonight.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, Mr. Mackey, if you could bring in Jen Hutchinson, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Jen. Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead,
Hi,
please.
So on a positive note, I just want to thank all the school committee because my daughter had an amazing day today at the high school. I haven't seen my child thrive like this in months. She was really suffering from depression from remote, and I just want to give a shout out to you guys and everyone that made it happen. It was her first day of high school today, and she actually told me about her day, a teenager telling me about her entire day. It's very rare. She also said how wonderful that Gary and Frank have been, especially reaching out to us, being very positive. She felt extremely safe, and actually she said that she was actually more engaged today in all her classes being there. Her teachers were really great. She felt awesome. And even she said at lunch, she was so far apart, granted she can't really socialize obviously, but that's, the safety measures that were taken. And she said she felt really safe being there. I just want to thank everybody because I think she did have an amazing day, especially being so engaged, and that the whole staff really gave her what she needed. And I really think everyone did a great job with that.
Okay, Jen, I appreciate you checking in today. Glad to hear it went well today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mackey, Kate Dugan, please.
Hey folks, how are you?
Good, how you doing, Kate?
Good, thanks. I wanted to speak as a parent to affirm what Mr. Goldman was saying about paying super close attention to the health metrics, knowing that we have an excellent remote model that works for a lot of students. And I just want to affirm that parents really want whatever the teachers need, please give them whatever they need. So that's just the parent perspective on that. And I look forward to hearing a little bit more about how cohort C will make sure we have enough attention. As you can imagine, my kid is cohort C. I've seen a lot of rigmarole about A's and B's, which I appreciate the need for that. But we over here in cohort C are a little nervous and would appreciate hearing a little bit more about how to make sure that our kids are staying engaged. And if a remote teacher is needed for those kids, at what point a remote teacher becomes an option. So thanks for all the work you all are doing, and have a good night.
Okay, thanks for checking in tonight, Kate. Appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Mackey, one more, please. Paula Burke.
Did I do okay? Oh my God, after that other teacher, Mr. Goldman, I was
Hey,
so
Jen,
mad.
Jen, hey,
So
Jen.
mad.
Jen, you're still on, Jen. And, Mr. Mack, any chance you can take the former speakers off as panelists? Thank you. And I think we're waiting for one more. Here she comes.
Okay.
Hi, Paula.
Hi, thanks. So I'm a grade 2 teacher at Meadowbrook, and I just wanted to follow up with what Bruce Goldman was saying. And I just want to thank the school committee for giving us a chance to share our ideas and our, how we're feeling about things. So I just want to say I wholeheartedly agree with what Bruce was saying. And I know that many teachers and parents also agree. And I just want to thank him for speaking up and doing such good research, and just want to say that we want what's best for our kids. And I think we all agree on that. So thanks for giving me a chance just to say what I need to say.
Okay. Thank you, Paula, for speaking tonight. Appreciate it. Okay. Seeing no more hands raised, we will move forward with the next order of business. We have a chance for the committee and the subcommittee communications. Anyone this evening? Yeah, Beth, go ahead if you want to unmute.
I just want to say, that's impressive. All right, I just wanted to say that my daughter was cohort A. She was able to go into the high school today. I think she was very nervous over the last couple of weeks. I think that sometimes it's scary and that we as parents make things scary that we shouldn't, but we were very positive about her going in. She was a little trepidatious. She had a really wonderful day. I think she thought it was going to be an awful, horrible experience. It was going to be like going to jail, and she had a great day. And I give that credit to all the teachers at the high school. I know across the board they've been doing this. They made it a wonderful experience. She was also surprised that the technology was working well. I think she was a little concerned that the kids that were remote were going to get booted off. But for the most part, just one teacher had one little problem for a moment or two, and that cleared up. So I appreciate all the work of all the teachers. She had a great time, and I saw a smile on her face. I too have not seen, she thought she liked being home, but I think she really liked going to school today. So just wanted to say thank you to everybody for that.
Okay, no other communications from the committee. I just wanted to briefly, before we move into an update on the instructional model, just remind families of what we're looking for. Certainly the safety of our staff and our students are priority number one. So if everybody can kind of envision that they're in their own household pod, right? So if you're in your pod, those are your direct contacts. As we move into in-person learning and we come in masked and we maintain social distancing and we hand wash, we don't necessarily move into another pod, right? We're moving out into public and we're doing things that others do. If you are with other people and you are unmasked, you are now part of their pod, okay? So what that does is it expands our contacts with other people. So I would just like to ask families that we think about how large our pods are as we move forward so that we can all make a concerted effort to try to keep the numbers down in East Long Meadow. And then try to keep, as I said, our students and our staff as safe and as possible. So just wanted to make that note at the beginning. And now we'll move forward with a update on our ELPS instructional model with the entire leadership team here tonight. And I'm going to pass it over to you, Mr. Smith.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thompson. I think our leadership team is going to come back on, turn on their cameras. That may take a moment. And Mr. Mackey, if you'd be able to share or provide screen sharing privileges to Mrs. Brown.
I think she has it.
Sure. Okay, and thank you to everyone who contributed during the public comment. Today was our first day in the hybrid instructional model. It started off incredibly well in terms of just how our staff was ready to greet students, how we had the protective gear and processes that we needed to keep people safe. And it was just great to see students in our buildings. That was, I think everybody agrees on that. And certainly we all agree on the fact that we want to make sure that we're doing all that we can to give the students this year the best possible educational program. Just a couple things before we move into the slides. We do have the entire leadership team here. Transportation today obviously had a few situations and challenges. We will be ironing that out, working with the Lower Pioneer Valley Educational Collaborative. We should have between cohorts A, B, and D, roughly 347 riders. And we're going to be looking at that closely to make sure over the next 2 weeks that people who right now are able to ride are actually taking advantage of riding. And I know that we'll be talking about other things depending on how we can increase that safely. And so that's something that we're going to continue to work at. And I just want to thank all our families for their patience and cooperation with all of that. Today, in terms of students showing up, was pretty incredible. We averaged around 98%. We had 97.6% at Meadowbrook. We had 98.5% at Mapleshade. Mountain View, we had close to 100%. We're around somewhere in the 99 range. Birchland was at 97.3, and the high school is at 98%. So our students showed up not only in the hybrid model in person, but also ones who are connecting via live stream. And so that's actually where we want to transition into our slides. Last week was just an exceptional week as we prepared for this week and what's going on in our classrooms. And like Mrs. Brown actually just kind of detail some of the things we did last week to prepare, because I know that live streaming and the equipment were some of the questions that were asked in the public comment.
Sure. On January 12th at the building staff meetings, we utilized a presentation put together by Connor Martin, assistant principal at Birchland Park, just showing folks how all the technology went together in terms of, using an external monitor and the projector and how to set up the computer. And it was very well received and available for teachers to go back to. So that was a really helpful thing for folks to kind of get started and just the basics of how do I set up my equipment. And then on the 15th, we let principals decide whether they wanted to have a live presentation or structure something else into their day. And so I presented at Meadowbrook around and also provided modules for all the teachers at the other schools that structured it into their day around just models of teaching concurrently so that it's manageable, so that we can kind of optimize the amount of time that we give, attention that we give to both the kids in front of us and the kids at home, ways to keep them connected and ways to keep them engaged, because at this point engagement is really, really important. So that professional development was also available for teachers. And then they had a lot of time as well to implement the technology and the models to kind of get ready for today.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. One of the things, a point that was made by our teachers who were in public comment is the incredible work and success that our remote instructional model had. And we're seeing that same type of creativity and effort as we move into this next stage. So I mean, our teachers and our staff are exceptional, as people said in the public comment, and we all agree. So we think we're going to continue to have success and get better with all of this. I just wanted to kind of walk you through the slides, and then we'll have we have our whole leadership team here, and so they may be able to add to this. Basically, what we're seeing here in the first few slides is our start of the day. So this is Meadowbrook. This is their car line. We were passing out, Mrs. Dakin and her staff were passing out car cards, if you will, to help organize future car lines. So this car line took a little bit longer. I was in it. I think it was from road to the building somewhere around 15 minutes. And so we're going to continue to work at that, making it more efficient. But the coolest thing about this car line, not just the blue skies and sunny day, was how happy people were as they were exiting the car and heading into school. And our staff is always there helping out. More air hugs right now during the pandemic than regular hugs, but hopefully soon we'll be back to regular hugs. So I don't know, Ms. Dakin and Mrs. Lodi are on. I don't know if they want to add to sort of the day as they went through after greeting their students.
Yeah, no, thanks, Gordon. You did a good job. We did, this year it's a little bit different. We're doing a staggered dismissal. So we had 3 different colored transportation cards. So we just asked the parents, what grade level their child was in, and all of the staff was handing them out. We also had staff that was available as the students entered the building, so they can escort our little kindergartners to their classrooms, and also to some of the first graders that might have forgotten where to go. So we had a lot of staff handy to make sure that the kids made it to their classrooms. And out of all of our arrivals today, there was only one student that forgot a mask. So that's pretty good considering how many kids that we have. And the kids did a really good job with their masks today based on teacher feedback. So yeah, I agree, Gordon. Just seeing the kids, I think, was the highlight of the teachers' days today.
Sorry. As they went through today, how did you see people engaging, both the remote students, because I know one of the parents asked about our C cohort, and that's certainly something we never want to forget about, but balancing sort of the engagement. I know I popped in a few classrooms and was able to see on the large screen our remote students, and certainly our in-person students all were there. It looked like things were happening, and students on both sides of the fence, so to speak, the remote and the in-person, could actually see each other and connect.
Yeah. So, I wish I could have gotten into more classrooms. I did get to speak to teachers at different grade levels. Renee and I were kind of filling in some gaps today with certain duties, but you know, for example, one second grade teacher said that she did at the end of the day have all of the students do a breakout together, and what they did was they shared their weekend news and shared their pictures and their stories with one another. I think that that there is definitely going to be a learning curve with that. And this teacher was so honest, said that the thing that she's got to keep in the back of her mind, we're so used to focusing on either the kids that are right on our screen or the kiddos that are right in front of us. So that was one of the things that she said. I didn't say it. She said, I just have to kind of remind myself. I think that's going to be a shift. It's day one, you know, so it's understandable that, you know, there is a shift. There's a learning curve with it. So I think that that's something, you know, I think teachers are you know, dealing with it in different ways. Some teachers are doing some, you know, breakout classrooms for small group instruction. Some teachers have you know, the video right up on the screen so they can see the kiddos. So it looks a little different in all of the classrooms, but you know, back to Mrs. Duger's point, yeah, that is something that we are really going to have to be really mindful of. And it is a shift in thinking and a shift in thinking, teaching for our teachers as well.
Gordon, and I would just add there that I also think part of the shift is they're all used to teaching remote. So I think part of the challenge is getting at the middle school level is getting back in that vibe of teaching the kids that are in front of you. So it's been 10 months of teaching to computer screens, and I would bet that it'll still be a lot of that as they learn to get back up and start to circulate and to teach the kids in front of them. So I think the remote kids are going to get a lot of attention, especially as we start to figure out how to teach hybrid completely. I hope I said that right.
No, I think you did. I think it definitely is. We're expanding our skill set, and we're managing two cohorts, a remote and an in-person, and that does take some time. And so I was just interested in how people are engaging it. I did see some using the webcam and turning it to, say, show the remote students at home what they're doing on the whiteboard, as well as the students in front of them. So, you know, there's going to be many different ways to look at this. Ms. Brown, if you could forward it one more slide. Okay, so this is Maple Shade's car line, and you can see Mr. Fredette there working with a student as they started to greet their students. At Maple Shade, what they're doing is setting up, teachers are coming out their classroom doors, exterior doors that exit out onto the blacktop. And as you see, some students are already lined up. They have dots where they can line up, and then we're bringing them in quickly and safely as they leave the car line and move towards their classrooms. And Mr. Fredette, I don't know if you want to add to some of that and just how the rest of the day went.
So we had really good protocols in place. Staff did a nice job ensuring the students could follow those protocols, enter the building in a timely manner. Teachers were ready to go right at 8:05. So when the kids came out of their cars, they were greeted by their teacher immediately, entered into the room. The teachers took care of the rest. They went through all of the protocols for spacing, hand hygiene, and mask wearing. They did their best job they could to keep the students in front of them engaged with the students at home simultaneously. As we mentioned, there's things we're adjusting to because it's the first day that we'll continuously work to improve. But overall, the overall sentiment of everybody is seeing the students was really great for the ones that did come to school. And we're just going to keep working to improve our model as we go forward.
I would agree that just seeing students back was a huge emotional lift for everyone. Thank you, Mr. Fredette. Going forward, as we got in and we got away from car line and bus arrival, we actually got into classes, and you can see a PE class here at Mountain View. They're spaced apart even a little bit further than 6 feet because they're going to be active in physical activity. But as you can see, not only are they spaced apart, but they're still able to connect with other students and the teacher and have a PE class within the gymnasium there. And Ms. Sentinel, if you would like to add just how the rest of the day went as you checked in on classes and so forth, that would be great.
Sure. Again, I'll say what everyone else has said. The best part of the day was seeing kids in person. I mean, we've had kids in person since the beginning, but having so many more in the building, it was great to see them. This actually, Michelle Bongiovanni, the PE teacher, gave me probably the best review of the day. She said that PE went much more smoothly than she thought it would. She did come in last week and tape off the floors to make sure everyone had their own space. She does have a student teacher also this year, so that's been helpful. And we definitely, like Mr. Fredette said, have a lot of little glitchy things that we have to work on in terms of our routines. I was most nervous about morning car line, and that went so smoothly. That afternoon car line kind of disappointed me, but we'll keep working on it. Otherwise, the teachers were working really hard. The kids were great about wearing their masks. And, the teachers they're nervous, just like they were before we started remote. Now they're used to remote, but now they're pivoting again. So they said it was tough. They want to make sure they're doing the best for all the kids. So we'll work on all of the issues that we had today, and hopefully it'll get smoother as we go.
And I'm sure it will. I mean, I think we're all adjusting, and students as well, and families as well, because this was a new routine today for families. So thank you. If we move on to the middle school, I thought this was an interesting way, and just to give people an idea. So this is a phys ed class that's just beginning. We have students in person who are getting instructions for the start of class, but you can see the projection. We went really, really big screen here on the partition wall. And so students could see their classmates who are at home. So I thought that was a pretty good way to use that partition wall. And I know Dr. Allen had chimed in earlier. I don't know if he would like to take us through Birchland's Day, and Mr. Martin, I know, is with us as well.
Yeah, Birchland had a great day today. We had 177 students in the building. That's just 30, that's exactly 30% of our 583 kids right now. So it was great to have them back. I really can't say enough about the staff. They just, no matter how they were feeling, they just welcomed the kids with open arms. They were positive. They were optimistic. They adhered to all safety protocols. They were even more organized than I would have hoped for. They really made, we're escorting kids on every transition, which is not the Birchland thing normally. So there's just so many new routines and procedures, and the staff they were amazing. They hit it out of the park. They did all of it. And more importantly, they made the kids feel good and safe and have some fun. We have to work on our PM car line, no doubt about that. But we'll figure it out. And overall, it was just a great day, and it was great to see the kids, and it was a credit to all the staff because they were amazing.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. Our staff is exceptional, and we're going to see, I know that we're going to see success even starting tomorrow as we continue to build our skill set. Moving to the high school. This is, I believe it's either the second lunch or the third lunch. I'm sure that Mr. Page and Mr. Wright can fill me in on which one it is, but you know, I know people were fearful about lunch, that it was going to be somewhat solitary and you know, no talking, but as you can see, desks are being spread apart at lunch. Each individual gets their individual desk, and they're still able to connect with other students. And in this case, you can see both Mr. Wright and Mr. Page connecting with students as they come in. Mr. Page and Mr. Wright, would you like to walk us through the rest of the day?
Yeah, sure. I'll just you know, start right from the beginning of the day. Today was just awesome. You know, we had a blast from, you know, before the bell rang until after that last bell for the day rang, and it was really the first time in a long time that that building felt like a school. You know, and that's a credit to, you know, all of our staff, all the planning that they put in and implemented and got us ready for today. There's a lot of heavy lifting that was done, and everything just went so smoothly between the classes, transition times, lunches. It just, like, it was hard to find something that didn't go well, you know. So in terms of the in-person learning, technology worked. Our teachers were able to engage both with the kids in front of them and make sure that those kids were getting what they needed, but also the remote kids. I even at the end of the day had a conversation with a student who stopped into the office because she had practice in the afternoon and she had been remote all day. And I just said, what was it like learning remotely today? You know, because obviously it's been much different than, I'm assuming it was going to be different than what we've seen for like the last 4 or 5 months. Her response was it was the exact same. You know, there was no difference between what she had gotten last week and what she's getting now. So I think that's just a credit to what our staff are doing, the hard work they've been putting in. You know, they're experts at this environment right now, and they were able to hit the ground running. So it was just phenomenal to see across the board. I think the thing I've said to numerous people today, I was surprised how excited I was throughout the course of the day. If I was able to skip down the hallway without looking like a fool, I probably would have been doing it because it was just so cool to see. So, so just a big thank you to you guys, big thank you to our staff, all the East Long Meadow community for pulling off today and making it work.
Thank you, Mr. Page.
Mr. Page, if you do decide to skip down a hallway, if you could please get this team video, we'd appreciate it.
I'm on it.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. So as everyone's heard, we thought we had a very successful day. There are things that obviously we can improve upon, and we're going to work toward that. But we can't say enough about our staff and our families because it takes everybody being coordinated to pull off success like this. We have the entire leadership team here. If people have questions or thoughts, certainly we'd love to hear them.
I can just say, as a father, certainly am excited for my 2 daughters to go back next week. They'll be in cohort B. They experienced today from a remote standpoint and noticed, you know, things going on in the classroom and certainly value on the remote side. So, you know, as we continue to move forward, I know that the staff is going to continue to work hard and make sure it's successful for our students because first and foremost, we're here for them. And I know we're all focused on safety protocol and hopefully the staff, the students, families, we're all focused on getting through the next 6 months. And then hopefully by next fall, latest next winter, we're all back to some semblance of normalcy. And we can look forward to that day too. But appreciate all your work. Please pass along to the staff and the students. We're appreciative for all the work they've done to move us into the next phase of more in-person learning. So thank you all for coming tonight.
If there are no other questions, just one thing to add, which probably, sorry.
Why don't you come on?
I'm unmuted. And now I have volume up. Okay. One thing to add before we let the leadership team leave. Two highlights, and I think I mentioned this, was greeting students and staff, certainly at the beginning of the day. But right before we got into the school committee meeting, I was out in the hall here at the end of the high school, and there are 3 high school students working on the backdrop for Spartanum. And that just was exceptional. It just made sort of this feel like we're getting back to school as we know it. They were upbeat, they were masked, which made me happy. And basically starting off getting Spartanum ready. So that was exciting to see. So thank you all. Thank you to our students. Thank you to our families. And we'll continue to work at this so that we're making this next step as successful as the remote learning was.
Okay, thank you again, leadership team. Certainly appreciate all your efforts, and we'll see you all shortly, I'm sure.
You guys need me to stick around for sports fees?
Okay, we're going to move forward with our next item of business. We're going to have some discussion on our winter. Oh, Frank, did you want to say something before you leave?
I was just asking, do you need me to stick around for sports fees?
I can't hear you. Oh, wait a minute, am I muted? Go ahead, Frank.
Do you guys need me to stick around for the sports fee discussion?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
You're up next. Do you want to start that off, or Mr. Smith, do you want to start? Sure. Okay.
Okay. No speaker? You're on speaker. I'm a speaker. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Page, for staying with us. So the next agenda item, as people know, we started winter sports last week. I think we're off to a good start, and certainly putting in all our safety protocols. The one thing that we did want to look at was the athletic fee for the winter season. And Mr. Page obviously can walk us through it, but we do know that we're in a winter season that basically is going from January 11th to February 28th. So it's somewhat crunched. And we certainly want to have our student athletes have the best experience possible. And so with that, I think we were looking at a different athletic fee. And certainly, Mr. Page, if there are things that I'm missing there, please walk us through this.
Yeah, I think the simplest piece is obviously we do have a shortened season, so we're trying to come up with an appropriate number to acknowledge that shortened season. But at the same time, we do have increased fees from what we had in the fall, because now we're also providing some transportation. So we're trying to find that medium between what we charge in the fall and what we typically charge in a normal athletic season. So the number we're targeting right now is at 125 versus the 149 of a normal year versus the reduced rate of $100 in the fall.
And the difference being, obviously, the biggest difference is the transportation, that we are able to provide transportation, which we're very appreciative of. And so all teams will have transportation to away games, and the ski team has transportation to the mountain for practices as well as ski meets.
Any discussion?
Yeah, is the ski team going to be, oh, that 135 is for the cost for the students?
Right, ski team will be the same, correct? Yep. Okay, and then we will, if we do have a chance to have the interim season, being football and wrestling, we'll then talk about what that sports fee might look like. We'll talk about what the spring sports fee might look like. And then, as I said earlier, hopefully in the fall, get back to some normalcy with our sports fee regulation. Okay? Any other questions, discussion on that issue? Go ahead.
It's a quick one. It doesn't, it's quick.
Go ahead.
If the season is cut short, I think we had a provision for the fall, but then we would also work to refund some of those costs because transportation is involved. Is that still applicable or no?
Yeah, we'll address it when it comes to,
Okay.
Yep, okay. All right, any other discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion, please. No, go ahead.
Move to approve the recommended $125 athletic fee for winter sports season as presented.
Okay, motion made by Bill to change to the $125 winter athletic fee. Seconded by Antonella. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. That motion carries 5-0. Okay, Mr. Page, thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Okay, you too. Okay, now we have some discussion on our revisions to the East Long Meadow Public Schools 2020-2021 school year calendar. I'm going to turn it over to.
Okay. Yes, so thank you, Mr. Thompson. So people, families, I'm sure, and staff noticed that on our school calendar, we were recognizing many different holidays and events throughout the year, and this is part of our continued work with our Diversity and Equity Committee. But specifically tonight, and specifically with the calendar that we first put out from the summer, we had recognized Juneteenth, or June 19th, which is a holiday that commemorates the ending of slavery in the United States. Even though slavery was officially, through the Emancipation Proclamation, outlawed in 1863, the Juneteenth date in 1865 was when, in Galveston, Texas, it was recognized finally that slavery was over and the slaves were emancipated. And that's a nationally celebrated holiday. And Governor Baker this summer also voted to be a state recognized holiday. And so we had it on our calendar as a recognized holiday, as I said, June 19th, Juneteenth, and it falls on a Saturday this year. Recently, the town put out their recognized holiday observance schedule for 2021. They are recognizing Juneteenth on Friday, June 18th. And I think it makes a lot of sense that we would also recognize as a school system a holiday that is celebrated nationally and is recognized by the state and now recognized by the town of East Long Meadow. So our recommendation would be to recognize that, and Friday, June 18th would be a day that we would not be in session in the East Long Meadow Public Schools.
Is that a day that the town picked? Obviously the 19th Saturday, so the town chose it, or is that the state says it should be Friday for kids?
That's, you got to put your mic on.
Is that, sorry. Is that the town that picked the 18th specifically, or is it that what the state wants us to do?
And so that's a very good question. The state, as far as I've researched it, has recognized June 19th or Juneteenth as a state holiday. They have not directed whether to recognize it as we do with other holidays. If they fall on a Saturday, you observe it on Friday, or if they fall on a Sunday, you observe it on Monday. However, the town has recognized it, and I would agree. I think that's a great step forward because we do that with other holidays that are recognized by the town and the state. If it falls on the Saturday, we celebrate it on the Friday. If it falls on the Sunday, we celebrate it on the Monday. Hold on a second, let's transfer.
I just am thinking more in terms of the end of the school year, and that because it is so close to the end of the school year, perhaps in the future, although it's standard to do it the Friday before, possibly if it falls on a weekend, they can make it the Monday after, only because the 19th of June has historically been one of our last days of school. And I'm afraid of losing students that last day of school. I know the timing is obviously the date is the date, and that's a good thing, but it's the timing of it. So potentially if the town might want to think about honoring that the Monday after, in hopes that we don't have to have a day off from school before the last day of school, because I fear students won't come back. So that's.
Everybody's muted.
Beth, you're muted.
Everybody's muted.
I'm back on now. Okay, thanks. Sorry, folks, if we were all just muted right there. Just in terms of the discussion, we were just having a discussion on whether going in the future, if the day was to fall on a Saturday, potentially we would put it on a Monday instead, if it affected when the last day of school was. This year it won't. We've had 2 snow days, so right now our last day of school with June 18th off will now be the Tuesday, the 22nd. So it would have been the Friday now?
I mean, we still got winter to go, so who knows?
Okay.
So just.
So yeah, that's
it's a
point.
Consideration the
Yeah.
town should make. Again, if the state has what the state does, that's one thing. But if it doesn't matter to the town, it's something that should be thought about.
Yeah, let's look at that as we go forward. You're right, Beth.
And
Okay.
the other thing to consider is if it's in any bargaining, collective bargaining.
Yeah.
Gotta look at the contracts too.
Okay. We're okay with it this year, though? We'll go with the 18th and
Well,
I mean, can we
it's
talk
either
to
that
the
or we
town?
don't do it.
Can we
Right.
talk to the town about it? No, I think we should.
already put it there.
Well, they can't change, like we got change. I mean, they didn't think it through maybe.
Yeah.
I think to have a conversation with them, maybe they don't mind.
And I'm understanding, and I know that, staff certainly looks at that as well in terms of the Friday flipping over to the Monday as the last day of school. I think, though, this is a decision that is the right decision and is supporting a lot of the work you're going to start to hear about that our Diversity and Equity Committee are doing. I do understand the fact that because it flips us to a Monday, last day of school, that families, may be into summer plans and so forth, so we may lose students on that last day. But isolating this decision and sort of recognizing this holiday that is nationally celebrated, I think is a big step forward and certainly supportive of the work that our Diversity and Equity Committee have been accomplishing and would like to, sort of continue to move forward. And have a presentation actually for all of you in February. And so it's, there are, right. Sure. Oops, sorry. And I understand what you're saying, Ms. Martin-Boucher. I get the conflict. I knew, with the power outage day and then the snow day, that put us on the Friday. So I understand that piece. I had to look at this just individually as what's the decision that we should be making and sort of setting the tone and supporting the work that we're doing with diversity and equity. And I know that you are supportive of that as well. And I had to put the conflict of sort of the last day of school flipping over the weekend into a Monday sort of aside, if you will.
I'm just saying that the town should have these conversations with us sometimes when they, I don't think they thought that. At some point, I think it's going to be standardized throughout the country, but for now.
Right. No, and I agree with you. I mean, this was something that was in terms of the holiday celebration, maybe we should coordinate that better in terms of the holidays that are recognized town and schools. So that's something we can certainly look at, and I appreciate that comment. Yep.
Okay. Good discussion. Any other discussion? If not, I'll take a motion, please, to amend the calendar.
I move to amend the calendar as shown. That's all we need, right?
Including Juneteenth recognized on the 18th, Friday, no school.
I move to accept the calendar as updated, showing June 18th as the date we are observing Juneteenth.
Correct. Okay. Mrs. Saletti, good on that? No? So the motion been made by Beth to approve. Oh, am I off? Can you hear me now, Kathy? Yes, you can hear me. Okay. So Beth has made the motion to approve the amended calendar, including June 18th, in celebration of Juneteenth, which is on this Saturday. So that'll be a day off from school. Thank you. Okay, motion's been made by Beth. Seconded by Antonella. Any other discussion? Here, take it over.
Typically,
Hold
we're
on.
making the change and that's fine, but I still think, can we contact the town and just have a discussion with them now so that we're prepared in the future? And maybe they might even see it and we can always bring it back.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think as we look at our calendar next year, as we start to develop the calendar, we potentially could modify the beginning date or some of the end.
There's a way, yeah.
We'll look at it holistically, I think is to your point, Beth, so thank you. Okay, so the motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. That motion carries 5-0. Thank you all. Okay, we're going to move forward with our budget development discussion for FY22. And we have an outline as 5.1.2. And I'll pass it over to Min.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thompson. So in your packets, as you said, we just have a budget development process outline. Obviously, this is subject to change depending on meetings that we schedule with town officials and the town council as a whole. As all of you know, February 9th this year will be the meeting between the school committee and the town council. That generally is a meeting that kicks off our budget development process and allows both town council and school committee to look at different pieces of information that might structure this whole budget development for FY22. So that meeting is happening on the 9th. What I'm outlining here are some meetings that are happening before that as we prepare for the 9th, and then certainly meetings that will go forward as we continue our discussion on the FY22 budget with the town. So last week as a leadership team, we started to look at and think about, first and foremost, probably because as everyone knows, at the end of the school year last year, we were in unanticipated times and unknown times as to where revenue projections were going, given the pandemic and different things that the state and towns had to do. So at that time, in coordination and working with our town council, we did reduce or leave unfilled a number of positions. We left the high school assistant principal unfilled as Mr. Page moved into the principal position. We had an instructional technology specialist who had taken a job in March of last year, and we left that unfilled. We had a Birchland literacy support position that we reduced. We had a foreign language position at Birchland that we reduced, and we reduced the position, the shared coaching position at Maple Shade and Mountain View. And so these were some of the things at the January 14th meeting we started to discuss as a leadership team, because certainly we want to continue to make progress, but those are positions that certainly we reduced, and we would certainly like to bring those forward as we discuss the FY22 budget, in addition to looking at areas of need and where are there areas in the East Long Meadow Public Schools that we can grow. And that doesn't necessarily mean growth just by adding personnel. There might be other things that we can look at. And so the leadership team is going to start to work on that and discuss that more thoroughly at a meeting that we'll have on January 28th. And then we'll continue to discuss budget at least through February 4th in looking at the various areas that are not only potentially urgent needs, but where do we see areas of growth. In the buildings, although somewhat reduced in time frame, because generally we're talking sometimes in our buildings around budget development in December. Buildings will start to talk with departments. They will work with their school councils over January and February, just to make sure that they're looking and asking questions to see where are areas that maybe we haven't thought of that departments are thinking of. This would be an area of growth, and make sure that we add that into the discussion. And then as a school committee, we'll continue to bring information to meetings that we have. Obviously, tonight's meeting is just an overview of the process, but then as we move forward, we want to provide information, preliminary information on February 1st, more information on February 22nd, and if we need more meetings after that, where budget is discussed, probably it might be something that we want to keep on as an agenda item all through the spring, as I believe generally we are in the neighborhood of April for our final budget hearing. And then that's approved, and generally that's the number that, not only generally, it is the number that goes forward to the town manager. And then to the town council, right? So the regular timeline, and if you remember at the end of last year, we extended that timeline, as did the state, in terms of developing the FY21 budget, but the charter's timeline, if we stay within the structure of the charter this year, is that the town manager sends a proposed budget to the town council by May 1st. That then obviously is discussed and reviewed, and the town council seeks to adopt a final budget by June 1st. Yep.
Okay, questions from the committee, comments? We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think a lot of it will depend on federal stimulus still to come, local receipts, obviously. So as we move forward, we'll certainly get to see a better picture. So we're all in it together as a town, and we'll continue to move forward. Yeah. And then capital, Mr. Smith's going to go along the same kind of schedule as normal too.
So our capital plan, I have shared with Mr. Fenney, the superintendent of the Department of Public Works. You had back in, I believe, November at one of your meetings, you had prioritized the project. So I've given him the prioritized projects. It's my understanding, but I will talk with our town manager, Mary McNally, that she's looking for sort of a cover letter, not necessarily all the paperwork we've given before, our 5-year plan and the prioritized plan. And then I think what Mr. Fenney's trying to do is pull everything into one large town plan. And so we will submit that, that information this week. He's already got the other information. I'll give him an updated cover page and spreadsheet, and we'll go forward.
Okay, so as mentioned, we will be meeting with the town council at one of their regularly scheduled meetings. It's our annual budget kickoff meeting. That's February 9th. So please have that on your calendar if you're able to attend. And if there are no other questions, we'll move on to the next order of business. No? Okay. All right. Finally, we have just one of our policies on the agenda. We have the ELPS social media policy. That's policy number, or letters IJNDD. This is a policy that's come up, some questions on this policy. Certainly needs some updating. We are in a working group with Unit A right now, Antonella and myself. And so what we'd like to do is kind of work collectively with them on it a little bit, and then bring it back to this full committee. I know normally we send it to the policy subcommittee. We can still do that. However, I don't know. Well, I think we'd still be all right. So maybe we'll come together with some ideas from the working group with Unit A, and then we'll kick it to the policy subcommittee, and then we'll bring it back to full committee. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. You have to expedite.
There's no big
emergency on this.
No,
take it over, Gordon.
We do have as Mr. Thompson said, we have a working subgroup to look at this. It does need to be updated. There are parts in it, obviously, that sort of stand the test of time, if you will, such as in recognition of the importance of maintaining proper decorum and appropriate communication in the online digital world, as well as in person. Staff members must conduct themselves in ways that do not disrupt or interfere with the educational process. I mean, I think that line certainly stands the test of time and should be something that we all live by. However, as you go through it, you see such items as, predominantly looking at personal web pages. And we know that that's no longer how sort of the digital world works. It's about social media, it's about different platforms. And so I think it will be worth updating areas there. And as Mr. Thompson said, getting input from Unit A as to how we update that and what is being used more commonly across not only schools, but certainly in terms of teaching and coaching, because coaches are part of this piece too. As we work on that, I think it's very much appropriate to move it to the policy subcommittee after. And I'm sure generally in the spring, there are other policies that MASC is revising. And so we'll have somewhat of a pipeline, I would think, in addition to this policy.
I think it's good to take a look at. I know that like even where I am, my lifeline, and I know it's with a parent directly, but my lifeline with my remote student is texting the parent, constant, nonstop, all day long. And what's that supposed to look like and what levels of appropriate and kind of stuff, because my phone is out, which normally our phones aren't out at school, but now, you know what I mean? So I think it is a good idea to, who would have thought, right?
Okay, thank you. Good discussion. So we will continue to work on that, and we will certainly see that again. Okay, with that, we have reached the end of our meeting. If there's nothing further to discuss, certainly wishing well wishes to our staff and students that have increased our in-person learning as we move forward, and everybody's going to keep doing the best they can as we go. Okay. All right. So with that, thank you all for your time this evening, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Bill. Second by Beth. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. That motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned. Thank you and good evening.